The key had barely cleared the lock when the smell stopped me in the doorway. Hot circuitry, burnt coffee, rain blowing through a cracked window. None of it belonged in a renovated loft that had been empty for 4 months. I set my expedition bag on the entry rug. Its buckles struck the floor with a hard metallic knock, and somewhere beyond the kitchen, a chair scraped across wood. "Adrian?" Claire Parker appeared at the end of the hall and moved directly in front of my bedroom door. She planted one hand on each side of the frame. Her hair was pinned up with a pencil, and a smear of the blue marker crossed one wrist. Behind her, green lights blinked against the dark. "You were supposed to be in Chile until Friday," she said. "The ice flight left early. I remained beside my bag. Are you safe?" "Yes, but before you come any closer, I owe you an explanation and an apology." Rain tapped the tall windows overlooking the railway yards. A satellite radio hissed behind her, followed by 3 clipped beeps. Before I had left for Antarctica, Claire's brownstone had developed a burst pipe. We had signed a simple house-sitting agreement. She could stay in my loft, use the kitchen and office, and keep her work at the dining table. My bedroom and expedition equipment were not included. The room behind her had clearly become something else. "Chief Ranger Oliver Mitchell called me 90 minutes ago," she said. "Sophie Carter and 3 university researchers are sheltering at Camp 3 on Mount Adams. They have food and fuel for 6 days, but their weather link has been shut down. A major front is forecast to reach the ridge on October 18th. I moved the emergency station in here because your south window is the only place in the loft with a clear satellite path. I should have asked you first." She lowered her hands but did not step away from the door. "Why was their link shut down?" Miles Cooper wants the Commission's 5-year exclusive guiding concession for the Northern Basin. He flooded our university repeater with artificial requests, blamed the resulting failure on our research transmitters, and used the false log to obtain a temporary frequency freeze. If the team has to abandon its work or accept an evacuation under his private contract, he can call our program unsafe and remove his only competitor. The radio hissed again. Claire glanced over her shoulder, and the marker on her wrist left a blue crescent on the white doorframe. "There are 2 reasons we cannot take an easy route," she continued. "The freeze prevents us from transmitting on the regional channel without written authorization. The storm has grounded the district helicopter, so any evacuation must travel overland. Oliver is assembling incident command, but he needs an approved route consultant. Your name is already listed in the university safety plan, and the voicemail on your phone is probably his formal activation request." That was my practical obligation, separate from friendship and separate from anything I might feel for Claire. As a master expedition guide, I had signed the contingency plan the previous spring. If the district activated me, I was responsible for evaluating the route and advising the official rescue team. I did not have authority to commandeer equipment, ignore a frequency order, or make decisions for Claire. I took out my phone. Oliver's message waited on the screen. "Would you like me to listen to this with you?" I asked. Claire nodded. "Yes, then I want to show you what I found, if you're willing to help." "I am. May I enter the room?" She stepped aside. "You may, and you can inspect the station. Please don't transmit until Oliver sends the authorization." The bedroom had become a compact operations center. 3 field cases stood where my bench normally sat. Topographic maps covered one wall, and 2 laptops displayed weather models beside a feed from Sophie's emergency beacon. Claire had protected the floor with rubber mats and moved my belongings into labeled storage boxes. The orderliness made the unauthorized change no less real, but it told me she had understood the boundary even while crossing it. I placed my phone on the desk and played Oliver's message on speaker. Adrian, this is Chief Ranger Mitchell. At 14:40 today, the district opened incident number MA-184. I am requesting your limited service as route consultant under the existing university response plan. Do not transmit or deploy until you receive the signed assignment. Call me with Director Parker present." Claire released a breath and reached for the cold coffee beside the keyboard. The mug clicked against the saucer because her hand was shaking. "May I review the weather screen and the interference log?" I asked. Yes, read access only. The originals remain under my custody. I pulled the chair out for her and took the stool beside it. On the left monitor, the pressure curve fell like a loose rope. On the right, thousands of identical requests struck the university repeater within 11 seconds. The source address belonged to a router at Miles's lodge. "This supports your claim," I said. "It doesn't authorize us to act on our own." "I know," Claire pushed her mug away. "I've already notified University Council, preserved the server image, and asked an independent analyst to verify it. What I need tonight is a route that Oliver can approve before the front arrives." "Then that is what I can give you. Would you like me to call him now?" "Please." Oliver answered on the second ring. Claire explained the evidence first. I listened while rain rattled the glass and the battery chargers hummed beneath the desk. When she finished, Oliver confirmed that his office had received the same server image from University Council. "I can authorize emergency traffic on the district backup channel," he said. "The order will identify Claire as logistics lead, Adrian as route consultant, and me as incident commander. Nobody leaves the city tonight. The team at Camp 3 is stable, and I will not turn a controlled shelter into an unnecessary night rescue." "Agreed," Claire said. "Send the order to my official address. I will sign the university acknowledgement." "Adrian?" "I agree to the limited assignment. I'll stay within its scope." The authorization arrived 4 minutes later. Claire read every line before signing. She rotated the laptop toward me only after her copy was saved. "You may connect your transponder now," she said. "One weather packet and a request for Sophie to confirm fuel, food, medical status, and shelter integrity. Nothing beyond the order." I connected the yellow transponder and waited for the orbital signal. A soft tone filled the room. The packet left under Oliver's authorization, crossed the darkening sky, and reached Camp 3. Sophie answered 11 minutes later. "Team 4, no injuries, 6 days fuel, 7 days food, hut secure, awaiting route plan." Claire pressed both palms to the desk. The pressure graph continued to fall, but the beacon beside Sophie's name glowed steady green. 6 days, she said. 6 days to prepare properly, I replied. She looked at the cases behind us. And 20 minutes to move all of this out of your bedroom. The satellite path is still here. We can leave the station until the incident closes, if you want to ask me formally. Her tired eyes met mine. Adrian, may I continue using this room as the authorized command station until the team is down? I will log every access, and I will restore everything afterward. Yes, you have permission until Oliver closes the incident. The tension in her shoulders eased. She reached for the coffee, took one sip, and made a face. This may be the worst thing I have ever brewed. You once made coffee with water from a kettle that still contained mint tea. That was a layered beverage. That was an international incident. Her laugh was quiet, but it changed the room. The batteries still hummed, and the storm still approached. Yet for one clean second, we were simply two old friends arguing about coffee in a borrowed command post. At sunrise, on October 13th, we drove to Julian Foster's gear depot with the signed assignment printed in Claire's case. Julian met us beneath the loading bay awning, a wrench in one hand and a paper cup in the other. You look terrible, he told me. Good morning to you too. Claire looks organized. You look like your duffel learned to walk. Claire raised her fresh coffee. I told him to sleep. And? He alphabetized the rescue batteries instead. Julian pointed his wrench at me. That is not sleep with better labels. He had managed the district's expedition gear for 12 years, and he was the only person who could tease me while checking oxygen valves with flawless precision. More importantly, Oliver had contracted his depot to prepare the snowcat and cold weather equipment for the official team. Inside, Claire laid the authorization on a clean workbench. She assigned a custody number to each radio and asked Julian to confirm the serials. I waited until she invited me to explain the route model. The standard western descent crosses a bergschrund that widened during summer melt, I said, tracing the contour without touching her original map. The eastern traverse is longer, but it reaches Cathedral Rocks and stays above the crevasse field. My recommendation is to establish a supply cache at Timberline, send revised waypoints under the authorized channel, and to hold the team at Camp 3 until Oliver confirms the weather window. Claire compared my proposal with Sophie's fuel report. If the front accelerates, can an overland team reach Cathedral Rocks? Yes, but only under incident command, with a snowcat team at Timberline and 2 district rangers on the rope. I will not recommend a private departure. Good, she said. Neither will I. The depot door rolled open behind us. Miles Cooper walked in with a leather folder tucked beneath his arm. His spotless jacket carried a silver Apex Glacier Tours logo, and rain shone on the shoulders. I heard district equipment was being issued for Parker's suspended project, he said. That would violate the frequency freeze. Claire closed the equipment ledger and faced him. The freeze remains under review. This operation is proceeding under a separate emergency authorization signed by Chief Ranger Mitchell. Would you like a copy sent to your council? Miles glanced at me. Bennett has been out of the country for 4 months. He cannot certify a route he hasn't inspected. He is not certifying field conditions, Claire said. He is advising on historical terrain and current remote data. District rangers will verify the route before deployment. The assignment states that on page 2, Julian placed his coffee on a shelf and quietly switched on the depot's security camera. The red indicator reflected in Miles's polished folder. Miles tapped the leather against his leg. When this goes wrong, the university will lose every permit it has. Then the record should be accurate, Claire replied. Your statement has been captured by depot security. Please direct further communication to University Council. She did not raise her voice. The hum of the overhead heater filled the silence she left behind. Miles looked toward the camera, turned, and walked back into the rain. Only after the door closed did Claire uncurl her fingers from the ledger. Would you like 5 minutes outside? I asked. No, I would like the serial number for the second battery case. Julian gave her the number, and she wrote it in a straight, steady hand. Her answer was not denial. It was a decision about what deserved her attention. For the next 4 days, the loft settled into a rhythm I had never known it could hold. Claire managed the university response from the bedroom station. I built route models at the dining table, where I had permission to spread copies of the maps. Every transmission required Oliver's approval and Claire's release. Every change entered the incident log before it reached the mountain. On the second night, I found a mug beside my elbow and a square of paper beneath it. This one is not an international incident. The coffee was strong, hot, and exactly sweet enough. Claire watched from the kitchen while pretending to read an email. Acceptable, I said. Your face moved. That is practically a 5-star review. On the third night, I was still studying wind vectors at 1 a.m. when she appeared beside the table with 2 ceramic saucers. We have a confirmed team, an approved route, and a 4-hour check-in schedule, she said. May I close your laptop? I looked at the pressure model. No new data had arrived in 20 minutes. Yes, for 6 hours. She lowered the screen and set an old kitchen timer beside it. 7. 6.5. 7. Or I tell Julian you alphabetized batteries twice. That is confidential. 7. Adrian. I surrendered. She warmed soup while I put away the maps. We ate at the kitchen island as rain moved in silver lines down the windows. Nothing dramatic happened. She told me Sophie had once carried a rock sample through airport security because she refused to check it. I told her Julian had named the depot forklift after his first-grade teacher. Claire laughed into her spoon, and the sound followed me down the hall after we turned off the lights. By October 17th, the independent forensic analyst had confirmed that the traffic against the university repeater originated from Miles's lodge router. University Council submitted the report to the commission and county investigators. The evidence did not produce an instant conviction or a theatrical arrest. It produced something more useful, a preserved record, a scheduled review. and a temporary order preventing anyone from altering the lodge server while investigators obtained lawful access. That evening, Oliver called from the district station. The main front had accelerated by 10 hours. The helicopter remained grounded. Sophie reported ice building on the hut door and one researcher with early cold stress. "Incident Command is moving to field rescue," Oliver said. "Claire, I need your logistics team at the ranger station. Adrian, I'm assigning you as route lead under Ranger Diaz. The written update is on its way. Neither of you is required to accept." Claire looked at me across the command desk. "I accept logistics lead," she said. "I also request field deployment to Cathedral Rocks. I hold current alpine medical and rope certifications, and Sophie has the core cases that require university custody." Oliver paused. Keys clicked on his side of the call. "Your certifications are current. Ranger Diaz will make the final field safety decision. Adrian, any objection based on route conditions?" The old instinct to place myself between Claire and every hazard rose quickly. I let it pass before answering. "No objection based on her qualifications. Claire, do you want my assessment of the personal risk?" "Yes. The eastern traverse will be cold, slow, and exposed to crosswind. If Diaz approves you, I trust your training. I will not make the choice for you." She held my gaze. "Then I choose to go. Sophie is my field lead, and those samples are my responsibility." Oliver confirmed the assignment. 30 minutes later, Claire locked the original evidence drive in a university case, signed custody to counsel, and placed the bedroom station in standby. Only then did we leave for the Ranger District. The storm reached the mountain before dawn on October 18th. Julian drove the snowcat through wet snow while Oliver coordinated from the ranger station. Ranger Elena Diaz sat beside him with the field plan clipped to her board. Claire and I rode in the rear compartment with 2 district rangers, 6 rescue packs, and a medical sled. At Timberline, wind struck the vehicle in flat, hard waves. Ice rattled against the windows. Diaz reviewed the final rolls aloud. She held command. I led route finding. Claire managed university communications and assisted on the rope. Nobody moved beyond the marked checkpoint without Diaz's approval. "Any concerns?" Diaz asked. Claire tightened the strap on her radio. 1. Sophie's latest packet shows the hut's east door blocked. We should approach from the southwest service entrance. Diaz studied the map, then looked at me. "Her route is safer," I said. "The southwest wall is in the lee of the wind." Diaz drew a new arrow and signed the alteration. "Approved. Parker, send it." Claire transmitted the plan. Sophie's acknowledgement came back through a wash of static. We left the snowcat in 2 rope teams. The beam from my headlamp caught snow moving sideways across the slope. Each step produced a dry crunch, then vanished beneath fresh powder. Behind me, Claire checked every anchor number against her card and repeated it to Diaz. Her voice never hurried. At the lower traverse, my probe struck a hollow layer. I raised one fist. The rope stopped moving. "Wine slap," I said. "The chute is loaded. I recommend the basalt rib 60 yards east." Diaz tested the snow beside me and approved the change. Claire relayed our new arrival time to Sophie. The team moved one person at a time across the exposed rock, protected by anchors. No one performed a miraculous sprint through a blizzard. We advanced through small decisions, each checked by another qualified person. Cathedral Rocks emerged as a dark wall in the white. Claire reached the southwest service door first and struck it 3 times with the handle of her ice tool. 3 knocks answered from inside. "Sophie, this is Claire," she called. "District Rescue is here. Stand clear of the door." We cleared the drift and opened the entrance. Warm, stale air rolled out carrying the scents of camp fuel, damp wool, and instant coffee. Sophie Carter stood beneath the emergency light with frost along her hood. The 3 researchers behind her looked exhausted but alert. Claire entered only after Diaz cleared the structure. Sophie held out the sealed core case manifest. "All samples accounted for?" she said. "And before you ask, I kept everyone on the eastern side after your warning." Claire checked each researcher's face, then pulled Sophie into a brief hug. You kept them safe. You kept the weather coming. That was Adrian. I mostly kept him from working through the night. Sophie looked past her at me. The harder assignment, then. Even Diaz smiled. One researcher had mild cold stress, so the medic wrapped him in heated blankets and secured him to the sled. Claire signed the scientific cases into her custody, then asked Diaz where she was most useful. "Rear brake with Ranger Bell," Diaz said. "You know the equipment and the load." Claire accepted without argument. On the descent, she controlled the sample sled while I guided the medical team across the basalt rib. The wind clawed at our jackets, but each radio check returned a voice. When the snowcat lights finally appeared below, Julian leaned on the horn twice. Inside the heated compartment, Claire removed her gloves with stiff fingers. I held out a chemical hand warmer. "Would you like this?" "Yes, please." She closed both hands around it. Color slowly returned to her fingertips. "Your route was good," she said. "Your southwest entrance saved us 20 minutes. Are we allowed to compliment each other without filing a form?" "Ask Oliver." From the front seat, Julian called back. "Denied. I require 3 copies and a coffee." Laughter moved through the compartment, small and tired, but real. Outside, the storm erased our tracks. Inside, Sophie passed around a packet of crushed oatmeal cookies as if it were a banquet. At the ranger station, paramedics examined all 4 researchers. Oliver collected the field logs and closed the rescue phase only after the medical team cleared them. Claire transferred the core cases to a university representative under a signed chain of custody form. Miles never appeared in the equipment bay. His attorney sent a written objection instead. Oliver attached it to the incident record and forwarded the full package to the commission. No threats were exchanged. The document spoke in dates, signatures, router addresses, and weather readings. Sophie found Claire and me beside the coffee machine just before sunrise. She set a silver emergency blanket over Claire's shoulders and handed me a paper cup. "This tastes like boiled cardboard," I said. "After what we drank at Camp 3, it qualifies as dessert," Sophie replied. Claire lifted her cup toward mine. To international incidents, the rims touched with a soft tap. 2 days later, Claire restored my bedroom exactly as she had found it. The cases returned to the university, the maps came down, and the blue mark disappeared from the doorframe beneath a careful coat of paint. She placed my key on the kitchen island beside a written access log. "The incident is closed," she said. "My plumbing is repaired, and my bags are in the car." Morning light crossed the hardwood between us. Part of me wanted to ask her to stay before I had understood what staying would mean. Instead, I picked up the log. "Thank you for restoring the room, and for not pretending I had permission when I didn't. You asked once I came home. After that, you respected every boundary." She nodded, then glanced toward the coffee maker. "I left you the good beans. Consider them damages. Your insurer may dispute the valuation." Her smile arrived slowly. "Will I see you before the hearing?" "If you want to." "I do, not for root work. Dinner on Friday, 7 o'clock. "Is that an operational meeting?" "No maps, no batteries, no Julian." That last condition seems harsh. 7 o'clock, Adrian?" "I'll be there." She left with her own bags and her own key to her repaired home. The loft became quiet again, but it no longer felt like the clean isolation I had once mistaken for peace. Over the next 6 weeks, the investigation moved at the pace real investigations usually do. County technicians acquired an image of the lodge router under lawful authority. The university analyst explained the packet pattern. Commission counsel exchanged filings with Miles's attorney. Claire reviewed every submission before it carried her name. My role remained narrow. I provided a declaration about root conditions and the authorized rescue. I did not interpret telecommunications law, contact investigators on Claire's behalf, or promise an outcome. When university counsel needed a question answered, Claire decided whether to request my records. Our relationship grew outside those files. We had dinner on Friday at a small place near the railway. Claire stole one roasted potato from my plate and called it a logistics transfer. I objected to the lack of a signed manifest. She returned half of it, which she described as equitable settlement. The following Sunday, she came to the loft with Sophie and a box of replacement coffee filters. Sophie brought photographs from the ridge. One showed Claire bent over the sled brake with snow covering her goggles. Another showed me checking an anchor while Diaz watched. "You both look miserable," Julian said when he joined us. "That is our professional expression," Claire replied. Sophie placed the photo of the whole rescue team on my refrigerator. For years, the door had held only expedition permits and grocery lists. The new picture remained after every permit came down. Julian caught me answering a satellite message during dinner 3 weeks after the rescue. He reached across the table and covered the screen with one broad hand. "You are not on call," he said. "It may be important. It is a promotional weather alert from a gear company." Claire held out her palm. "May I put the phone in the kitchen drawer until dessert?" I considered the old reflex that treated every silence as a problem to solve. Then I placed the phone in her hand. "Until dessert." She set it in the drawer and returned with 3 bowls of apple crumble. "Look at that. The mountain survived. We should wait for confirmation." Julian groaned. Claire laughed, and I let the phone remain out of reach for the rest of the evening. By late November, I had declined a 4-month winter traverse and accepted 2 shorter expeditions with fixed periods off duty. Julian helped me build the schedule. Claire did not ask me to change careers, and I did not attach the change to a promise from her. I had finally admitted that constant departure was not the same as purpose. The university separately offered me a 6-month consulting agreement for route review. Its ethics office examined the scope because Claire directed the research program. She removed herself from the selection decision, and another administrator signed the contract. Our work had boundaries on paper before I accepted it. On December 4th, the Cascade Regional Safety Commission held its public hearing. Claire sat at the university table with counsel. I sat behind them beside Sophie and Julian, waiting to be called as a witness. Oliver occupied the ranger service table, not the commission dais. 3 commissioners and an administrative hearing officer reviewed the case. Claire presented first. Her hands rested beside a porcelain cup and saucer the clerk had brought her. The silver spoon made one clear note against the porcelain as she set it down. She explained why the research channel mattered, how the duplicate requests overwhelmed the repeater, and how her team preserved the original data. The independent analyst authenticated the server image. Oliver described the emergency authorization and incident command. I testified only about the route, the storm, and the consequences of losing accurate weather information. Miles's attorney challenged each point. Claire answered without looking toward me. When she did not know whether a technical assumption was correct, she said so and referred the question to the analyst. Her restraint made the verified facts stronger. After a recess, the hearing officer issued findings based on the documented record. The commission lifted the research frequency freeze, restored the university permits, and revoked Apex Glacier Tour's basin concession for deliberate safety misrepresentation. The route or evidence remained with county investigators, who would make any criminal recommendation through their own process. No one promised an arrest or a particular charge. Outside the hearing room, cameras gathered near Claire. A reporter asked whether Adrian Bennett had saved her program. Claire looked directly into the lens. "The program was protected by a team," she said. "Sophie kept 4 people safe at altitude. Chief Mitchell established lawful incident command. The district rangers conducted the rescue. Julian prepared the equipment. Adrian provided an excellent route. I preserved the evidence and made the decisions for my department. That is what accountable work looks like." She had given every person credit without surrendering her own. When the reporters moved toward the commission chair, Claire crossed the marble hall to me. Sophie, Julian, and Oliver were close enough to hear, but she did not perform for them. "I have one more decision to put on the record," she said. Julian glanced at the ceiling. "Do I need a form?" "No," Claire said. You need to stop listening. He took Sophie by the elbow and moved exactly 2 steps away. Claire turned back to me. For 6 years, we've been good at emergencies. These 6 weeks taught me that I also like Fridays, bad depot coffee, stolen potatoes, and making you put your phone away. I don't want danger to be the reason we choose each other. The courthouse doors opened behind her, letting in the clean scent of rain on stone. What do you want? I asked. I want us to keep dating when there is nothing to rescue, publicly, consistently, and without confusing it with a contract. I want that too. She offered her hand, I took it, and she led me toward the others. There was no permit attached to the gesture, no job hidden inside it, and no crisis demanding an answer. Sophie noticed our joined hands first. About time? Oliver smiled. Julian looked offended. I was promised plausible deniability, he said. We celebrated at the loft that evening. Sophie brought oatmeal cookies that were not crushed. Oliver left after 1 cup of coffee because he was genuinely capable of going off duty. Julian inspected my new schedule on the refrigerator and declared it barely civilized. Claire placed a small wrapped box beside my porcelain saucer. Inside was a kitchen timer with a brass dial. For 7 hours of sleep, she said. 6.5. 7. The commission ruling is final. You do not have jurisdiction over bedtime. Then consider it a strongly worded recommendation. When the others had gone, rain whispered against the tall windows, just as it had on the afternoon I came home early. This time there was no burnt coffee, no hidden radio, and no blue mark on the bedroom door. The loft smelled of warm apples and the cedar shelves Julian had helped me install. Claire stood beside the kitchen island with her coat folded over one arm. She had returned my old house-sitting key weeks earlier. I placed a new key on the porcelain saucer between us. This is not an invitation to move in, I said. Your home is yours, mine is mine. It is a key for the days we choose to share, if you want it. She studied the brass beneath the warm pendant light. One condition. Name it. No emergency command post in the bedroom without written permission. Agreed. She picked up the key and clipped it beside her brownstone key. Then she stepped close enough that I could see the rain reflected in her eyes. May I kiss you? She asked. Yes. Her kiss was brief, warm, and certain. When we drew apart, the kitchen timer rang from inside its box. Claire looked toward it. Apparently, your 7 hours begin now. You set it before wrapping it? I plan ahead. I laughed and reached for the coffee pot. She caught my wrist lightly. Tomorrow, she said. So I switched off the kitchen light. We left the cups on their saucers, the silver spoon resting quietly between them, and walked down the hall together without any door standing between us. The end. Closing thoughts. Core lesson: trust grows when courage is matched by accountability, patience, and respect for another person's choices. Green flag: Adrian asks before acting, while Claire keeps control of her work, her evidence, her home, and her decisions. Their partnership becomes romantic only after clear consent and professional boundaries are established. Like and subscribe. If you enjoyed this wholesome story, please like the video and subscribe for more. Would you have trusted Adrian and Claire to work together after that unexpected homecoming?